Hi, everyone. Joanne Vitale here. I'm excited to have this webinar for you here today. Ultimate Stress Tools, or How I Stayed Sane for the Last 2 years. So I'm going to start and talk about a bunch of tools here today that I've personally used myself. And who am I to share any of this, right? What is it that I know? I've been through some intense family issues over the last 10 years, starting with my one of my sons, my youngest son, who several years ago, 10 years ago, was diagnosed with Asperger's. So he had a lot of emotional issues that he was going through, and caused a lot of upset. It started with a phone call from a school counselor who who called me up one day and said, you need to come in right away because something's going on with your son. And I got there, and it turned out that the girl that he was seeing had turned him into the counselor because he had threatened self-harm. So that was a pretty big deal, and the start of a lot of emotional outbreaks on his part, and so a lot of things going on there. He ended up destroying much of the basement in our house. One of my other sons described it as a scene from Slash, the movie. So there was a lot of family drama dealing with his inability to regulate his emotions. So anger and upset and things breaking for several years. And so I had a lot of emotional stuff with that. And then recently I've had issues in the last 2 years with my oldest son. And I don't share any of this on Facebook because I really feel like it's like an oversharing sort of situation. But right hitting into the beginning of the pandemic, found out that he had been abusing opioids for the past 5 years. So that was a real kick to my gut and really put me on the path I am now, which, as most of you can see, is more of a spiritual bent than what it used to be. It was just so upsetting. I can't even really go into it. I mean, just took me down literally for almost over 1.5 years, and just getting myself back up now. So in a nutshell, there have been things that have been going on in my life that have really caused me to look for some solutions. And as you know, in some of the things that I write, I complain that much of the stuff out there is just so bad. I mean, people tell you to journal and people to tell you to, take a deep breath in and these things. And frankly, I never got any relief using any of that. So I'm wondering what you've got. Do you have anxiety? Do you have grief, hopelessness? I mean, that's what I had for the past, the past 1.5 years. I really felt hopeless, like a whole lot really wasn't, there wasn't a whole lot to look forward to. And I was really scared of the future because I thought if my son could have this issue with opioids and I didn't even know it, then what could happen next to my life? Life is so unpredictable and life is so scary. Perhaps you've got sadness and depression from all this alone time that we've been having, or maybe you've gotten into a real bout of negative thinking, of cyclical negative thoughts keep coming up in your head, and you want to have a way for dealing with that. We're going to talk about all of that today because I've got some real things that I think will really help you with any or all of that. So our path today, I'm going to talk about several tools. I'm going to talk about the benefits and the research potentially for these tools, and also the how to do them, and also the, hello, Ms. Connie. I think you're just jumping in. Happy to see you here today. I'm just talking about what our path is today, and I'm going to talk about several tools, the benefits, the research behind each of them, how to do some of the tools, and some of the resources and free links that you can use to access these tools yourself. So the first tool I'm going to talk about will help you with, what if I could just zone out? What if you just want to literally stop thinking about whatever it is that's upsetting you? And this tool is useful for that. So in looking at the tool that I'm going to talk about here is called binaural beats. And it's something that you can listen to on your phone. And by listening to these musical selections with frequencies interjected into it, it'll affect your brain waves. Now, frankly, there isn't a lot of research around how it affects your brain waves, but I do know, having listened to these recordings myself, it definitely puts you into a meditative zone out, I'm not thinking anymore kind of state, which is a beautiful thing. So the states that it puts you into are things like specifically the theta state is a really good one, and the delta state is the deep trance-like state. So those are two of the states that the binaural beats can actually put you into. So you can access these from something called Insight Timer, which you might have already, which is a meditation app that you can get. It's free. And just do a search on binaural, B-I-N-A-U-R-A-L. You can do this. Okay, just lost the Zoom connection there. Hold on. Just letting Heather in. Here we go. Hold on. Getting back in. Heather, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here. We just got bumped out there. Okay, hopefully you guys can all see that. Let me pull up the chat again so that I can see if you guys have any messages for me. Anyway, back to the binaural beats. In your follow-up email that you will get from me an hour after this class, you will get a free download that you can access. Two downloads, actually. One is called the Dive, and that gets you into that delta state. And another is called Alpha, that you can actually use to put you into alpha mode, which is really good for focusing when you need to work. So both of those are by a company called Centerpoint Research Institute. You can Google them and look them up and get your own recordings if you like. However, both of those are free from Centerpoint Research. So those are really cool. The Dive recording is maybe about, I think 20 to 30 minutes long at the longest. And it's the kind of thing where you'll start listening to it. You do need to use headphones for this because you've got two different frequencies going in each ear to affect the brainwave pattern in your brain. So put on headphones, lay down, listen to the Dive, and you'll think to myself, this is kind of cool, but I don't really feel anything. And then 25 minutes later, you'll be like, oh my God, it's over. So try that. If you do try it, please let me know how that works for you. And as I said, those downloads are going to be in your thank you email for attending this session. Okay, so that is the first one. Very cool. So the second thing is, what if you could calm down and get clarity? So you're really upset in the moment, something has happened to you, something really traumatic, or maybe you just had a memory that brings up a lot of grief for you, or something that has just got you very upset in your day. And I don't know if you've heard of EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, or tapping, but this is the second tool that I'm going to talk to you about. Now, with all of these tools, I will mention you need to use the tools. I know that sounds like the obvious, but I myself have fallen to the wayside on doing tapping sometimes, because you do have to make the effort to actually do this technique. This is where you're tapping on acupressure points in various parts of your body, and I'll show you those points in a second. This has a lot of studies have actually been done on this, that it lowers your cortisol, lowers anxiety for tests. If you have a test of some sort or, coming up, decreases your food cravings. It's been used for losing weight, I think. And it alleviates, it's been used for combat veterans to alleviate PTSD. So there's a lot around this. I use it primarily because it helps me get clearer. As I do this tapping, you kind of talk yourself through. It allows you a time to talk yourself through whatever's bothering you. And the combination of your own voice, I think, and tapping on those points can clarify sometimes why you're even upset in the first place. Many times you can get upset and you don't even know what the root of it is. Maybe you've got an issue with a family member that it just upsets you, that, it doesn't even make sense why, what they did upset you. But as you start tapping, so let's look at what this tapping stuff is. I'm getting it. Thing, my connection is unstable. I hope I don't lose you again. If I do, I'll just jump back in as we did before. Here's some of the research about it. There's been research with using this with people in disaster relief, Rwandan orphanages, and it has been approved for safe use at the VA. So there's a lot of good stuff around this tapping, and it's getting much more used out there than it used to be even, say, 5 years ago. So here's how it works. Great, lovely picture of me, right? So you're going to stimulate what's called the meridian points, the same points that are used in acupuncture techniques. And you're going to start out with something simple, a statement called the setup statement, which is, even though I have this anxiety, even though I have this worry, even though I have this knot in my stomach, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And you begin by tapping on the side of your hand, and you recite that phrase 3 times. And then you tap each meridian point 7 times. So that's a lot right there, but I'm gonna walk you through. Here's what it looks like. If you look at the different points, you start on the hand here with my blue circle, the karate chop. Eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, chin, collarbone, under the arm, and top of head. So we're going to watch Jessica Ortner, who's from the Tapping Solution, demonstrate that for you so that you can see how it's done. And I will show you, there is an app that you can get that's also free called the Tapping Solution, that you can access these audios as well for free. And Jessica, who you'll see is just lovely, will walk you through those. So let me just pull up Jessica here. Here she is, and we will watch her video. It's only 4 minutes long.
Welcome to the tappingsolution.com. This is Jessica Ortner, and welcome to our How to Tap area. Here we'll provide all the information to help you get started right away to use this incredible stress relief technique that will really benefit your mind and your body. Now in this video, I'm going to show you where the tapping points are so you can get a visual. The first point is the side of the hand, and it's the karate chop point. So tap on that fleshy part. The next point is the eyebrow point, and it doesn't matter which side of the body you tap on. Just pick a side and tap where the beginning of your eyebrow begins, right on that hair. I hope you're tapping along with me. You're gonna follow that bone until you're on the side of the eye, staying on that bone. Then underneath the eye, again, staying on that bone. Underneath the nose, the chin point, which is actually the crease between your lip and your chin, your collarbone point. I like to just take my whole hand and tap where a man's bow tie would lie, and you'll stimulate the points. Then underneath the arm, about a hand width from your armpit. Then you end with the top of the head. Those are the 9 points in this tapping algorithm, and that is 1 round. So what you do is you begin by saying the setup statement. The setup statement is, even though I have this problem, so even though I have this anxiety, even though I have this headache, I love and accept myself, or simply, I accept myself. A lot of people feel resistant to this. They say, why would I ever say I accept something that I want to get rid of? Well, it's our inability to accept the feeling that usually keeps it stuck in place. By saying the setup statement, it sets us up for the rest of the. So you say the setup statement 3 times, then you tap on the rest of the acupressure points while simply saying how you feel. It's not about the fancy language. It's about being honest with how you're feeling, bringing that up in your body and tapping on that acupressure, on these acupressure points. Again, sending that calming signal to the brain, letting your brain know that even with this thought, you are safe and it's okay to relax. So let me are stressed around, say, a deadline. You would tap and say, even though I feel so stressed around this deadline, I love and accept myself. Even though I feel stressed around this deadline, I accept myself. Even though I feel stress around this deadline, I love and accept myself. Whatever variation of the setup statement you'd like to use is perfect. Then we're going to tap on the rest of the points just while we vent. So it would go something like this. The stress around this deadline, side of the eye, I have too much to do. Under the eye, it's too much for one person. Under the nose, all this pressure that I feel. Chin, this pressure I feel to do it perfectly. Collarbone, this pressure around this deadline. Under the arm, all this pressure around this deadline. Top of the head, all of this pressure. It's as simple as trusting your intuition and really just giving a voice to the tape you're already playing in your head. You might already be having that panicked conversation. Now have that conversation with yourself while stimulating the points to really see a difference. You'll get to the point where you can say these thoughts, have it, and that is where the real change happens. Well, I hope that is enough to help you get started. Continue reading here to get more information, and welcome to the tappingsolution.com.
Okay, let's get back to our presentation here. All righty, so Jessica did a great job there of showing you everything about how this works in a nutshell. As I said, you can get these at the Tapping Solution. They are free. She will walk you through it just like she did in that video, saying next to the eyebrow, under the nose, on the chin, and then with prompts. Or as she mentioned, you can do this yourself and use your own intuition to guide you with what to say next and to get that clarity that I was talking about. Now you notice that all of these tools that we're going to talk about today are ways for you to connect to your body, because the issue here is that the emotions are getting trapped in our body. They're stuck in there and the energy needs to get moving and needs to get released. When we're little, we are told not to cry, we are told to hide our feelings, and we frankly don't have the neurological connections to handle some of the stresses that we might have had in childhood. As we get older, we do have those connections in our brain and we can handle it, but we haven't really been given the tools to help free some of that up. So all of these tools are a way for you to start literally tapping into your own body to get yourself some relief. Okay, let's look at another tool. So what if your brain could be your ally? Now this is to address that negative spiral, the gremlin that sits on your shoulder, the negative thinking, I could go on and on with the negative thinking, and you've got your own self-talk that I'm sure you've experienced as well. And I'm going to talk a little bit about something from positive intelligence. I'm going through a class right now, a 2-month class on this topic. He's got some really good points, and he's also kind of, I'm very critical. That's part of my human design, which I can talk about later. But he's got some downsides. But the pluses from positive intelligence is that he's done a lot of research. Shirzad, his name is, who wrote the book, has worked with 500,000 participants on this, and did something called factor analysis, where he narrowed down the factors involved, both positive and negative, that impact our well-being and how well we perform, how well we do things, get things done. And he came up with 10 negative things that affect us. Surprise, surprise, there's more negative ones that he calls saboteurs, that literally sabotage us, and 5 what he calls sage powers that can that positively affect us. And his positive intelligence spin is that we can intercept the saboteur and activate the sage, and that those the saboteur or the gremlin that sits on our shoulder, whatever you want to call that critical voice in your head, actually comes from a separate part of our brain, he's determined. The more reptilian part, the fear-based part, the instinctual part. And of course, our sage comes from more of our prefrontal cortex and our thinking ability and our calmness and ability to work through our problems. When we have the saboteur doing its work, we don't have access to that sage wisdom, as he calls it. So the beauty of the positive intelligence book is that he names, he's named the 10 saboteurs that you will, as you look over this list, you will recognize them in yourself. The stickler, things always having to be perfect, or the pleaser saboteur, I can't do that because I need to make everybody happy, or I can't make myself happy because I need to make everyone else happy. The victim, things will never get better, anything along those lines. The avoider. And I've noted some of the things of how these voices speak to us over on the right, which perhaps you will recognize as things that are running in your own head, words that are running in your own head. I've got to be in control, or you always give up. Somebody's saying to you, you always give up. It's never going to work. I've got to be busy all the time, and if I'm not being productive. So the first thing to do, and this lovely judge picture here on the right, is he says that the judge saboteur is actually kind of the master saboteur that we all have in some way, shape, or form, that judge, the critical judge of both ourselves, and then we tend to turn it also on other people. Since we don't think that we're perfect, we then flip it around and project it onto people around us, and can be highly critical and judgmental of them. And of course, none of that is productive for either us or the people around us. So what we need to do in all these cases is to, talk to this saboteur, which is basically our subconscious mind. And we can actually do this by literally just talking to it, either in a saying, this will never work out for you. And you can name your judge. You can call it the judge. You can call it your gremlin. You can, whatever word kind of fits for you. Nasty self-critic. And you could say, oh, that's just my nasty self-critic. I don't need to listen to that. I know I needed to hear this from you to keep me safe when I was younger, which is what the subconscious mind is trying to do, is just to keep you safe. It's like a hypervigilant kind of sense that we have out there that that's kind of gotten out of control, especially these days. So the first thing is to just catch it in your head and say, oh, I don't feel good. What's going on there? What's the thought behind that? That's just my judge talking to me, and that's step one. Step two, he calls it doing a PQ rep. PQ is short for positive intelligence. PQ reps are basically mindfulness techniques. So any of the mindfulness techniques that you might have heard, like stopping to take a breath, stopping to feel your fingers touch each other, and feeling the sensations of both of your palms rubbing together, feeling the breath come in through your nose and what temperature it's coming in, and then exhaling it. all of these mindfulness techniques are, again, ways for you to connect back into your body. We are so in our heads, and we've gotten disconnected from the wisdom of our bodies. And by doing the just tactile touches of your fingertips together so that you can feel the ridges, by doing the breath and feeling the breath coming into your body for just a minute or two, it will activate what he calls that sage wisdom part of your brain. It will take you out of that reptilian, reaction in the moment and put you into a wise state. So you can also anticipate when these things might happen. So say you've got something coming up with somebody who you know is very upsetting to you, or you've had some words with, or you've got a conversation coming up that might be a little hard for you. You can, in preparation for this meeting, before you get in there, do these PQ reps, do this mindfulness kind of thing to bring yourself back, to get you out of that reptilian part and into the other part of your brain. So Shirzad says that the research that he's done is by just connecting with your body, the sensations of your body, whether it be the breath, the touch, sound, focusing visually on something, all of any of those, it can bring you back into that wiser part of your brain and take you out of that saboteur's response. Other ways to activate the sage part of you are to be compassionate. So you're going to visualize the child either in yourself and be compassionate with yourself. Remember, see the innocent child that you used to be, and give yourself a break, literally, or visualize the child in that person with and the child, and elicit compassion, which will also take you into the sage. Brainstorming is another way to activate the sage. And all of these should be done, by the way, he suggests, after you do a mindfulness technique, after you do a PQ rep, as he calls it. Then you can activate these in that saboteur part of your brain. I did want to mention that. So the second technique is to brainstorm. And you can do this again alone by yourself, or you can do it when you're working with a team, to say, when somebody gives a suggestion, instead of being your judge jumping out and saying that idea really sucks, I don't like anything about it. Instead, say, what I like about that idea is, and try to pull out a good part that you see, either for yourself or in an idea that a coworker had pulled out. What I like about that idea is, and then, doing the brainstorming technique of coming up with ideas without judgment. So we've heard that one before, but this is a different kind of use for brainstorming. And then also finally is to ask, what is the gift? Now, this one, of course, when we're in the middle of a major, major upset or trauma, if you had come to me 2 years ago when I found out that my son had been using opioids and said, Joanne, look for the gift, you would not have been treated very well. I was in no place to look at what is the gift. So there's definitely a timing element to the what, using this, what is the gift, and also a, I guess, how bad is the thing that you're going through kind of thing that you need to look at. But Shirzad is emphatic about this, that in everything that happens to us, be it no matter how upsetting, that there is a gift that we can pull out of that. And I can say, almost 2 years out from, my recent major upset, the gift is that I am seeing this need for us all to connect more with our body. And to be even able to share this webinar with you today, which would not have happened prior to that. So there are definitely gifts that I can see now. But as I said, in the moment, or even 6 months out, I wouldn't have been seeing any gift at all. You can find out what your saboteurs are yourself by, of course, going to Shirzad's website, assessment.positive intelligence saboteur overview. And you can get a readout on what your top saboteurs out of those 10 are. And then once you know the 10, you're then in a really good place to be able to catch them in the moment. But I will also add that there's no need to actually figure out which of the 10 that you use. What you do just need to do is to, when you start feeling bad for whatever reason, you can try to figure that you can, put a name on that yourself. You don't necessarily need Shirzad's test. This will open you up to getting emails from Shirzad, which, might be annoying. So just realize that before you take the assessment. He also has you can take your own, I think he's got a positive intelligence kind of readout on there. You can also take as a free test to test your positive intelligence and see where you score. And Shirzad would tell you that in order to be in thrive mode, you need to get a 75 or higher out of 100 on that test. Much of that research actually comes from another woman named Barbara Fredrickson, who wrote a book called Positivity. It talks about how to get into the positive happiness cycle up. And she mentions this 75%, and Shirzad is quoting that as well. Okay, so that's the ability to talk to our subconscious. Is an idea that goes way beyond Shirzad and positive intelligence. If any of you have had back pain, there's also a guy named Dr. Sarno, S-A-R-N-O, who was famous for being able to treat back pain without surgery. And you can actually Google Dr. Sarno. He was on, not 60 Minutes, I'm trying to think of the other one. John Stossel was the guy, John Stossel and Dr. Sarno. And it's really good to watch because John Stossel had back pain and ended up doing the Dr. Sarno technique, and his back pain was relieved. His brother, who is a physician, who also had back pain, and you will see them in the video laying down together on the floor because they are both in such back pain. His brother, the MD, refused to even try it, which I think is just so funny and so typical of some of the doctors that we have out there who are so resistant to some of these techniques. But you can just literally talk to your pain, talk to your critic, talk to your subconscious, and have it have a positive effect on your life. So I wanted to bring that up as well, because the main point is not the positive intelligence, it's not the saboteurs, it's our own ability to be able to talk to that part of ourselves. Moving on. So what if you could clear your bad feelings? What if you could unblock yourself from things that you don't even know are holding you back? What if you could clear energy that somehow affected you in childhood that you may not even remember consciously? This gets into my love of my newfound go-to way to make myself feel better, which is breath work. Now, you might have heard of breath work in yoga that you've done, where maybe you breathe in one nostril and exhale through the other nostril, or breathe in for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts. This is way more powerful than that, I would say. The picture I have up here is from my teacher, David Elliott. He's the guy standing there in the bare feet with the white shirt on, real casual kind of guy who has been doing this for about 20 years. There's a whole kind of woo-woo story around he got into it, how he started doing it, which I won't go into, but he's an amazing teacher, and the technique is very, very, very simple. This is called an active meditation, otherwise known as pranayama, because it's using the breath. And there have been a lot of studies done on this where it decreases your cortisol, lowers your blood pressure. It also can change the pH level of your blood, making it less acidic, which is a huge thing for people who've got any sort of disease going on, especially say cancer, that it can actually change chemically alter the pH level in your blood. So what is this breath work? You might have read my articles about it. Some of you I know here today in the webinar have actually experienced it with me. It is so friggin' simple. Basically, you take 2 inhales so that you're really full of breath, and then you exhale and you let it all go. You take the first inhale through your belly. So if you put your hand on your belly now and you take an inhale, and all through your mouth, I should also mention, all of these breaths are through your mouth, which I know drives the yoga people that I work with crazy. They're like, all breathing's done through the nose. No, this is specifically done through the mouth and exhaled through the mouth. So if you breathe in through your belly, and then you take in a little more, exhale, let it go. Now you don't have to force it out. You don't have to push it out. You can just go. That's all there is to it. It sounds very simple, but many people will, if they're doing it on their own, trying to do it, will get a little bit of resistance in the first 5 to 7 minutes of this. And I have several of my friends who have tried this and not gotten on their own and not gotten through the first 5 minutes. And I actually have some sessions set up with my old roommate from college to get her to do this, because I think the more tightly wound you are, the more trouble you might have doing this on your own. So I don't want to make it sound really, really hard, because it's not. It's just that I'm saying you need to get through the first 5 minutes of it in order to reap the benefits. So what are the benefits? What can you expect from this? As I said, you might have some resistance in the first 5 to 7 minutes. Not a big deal, but just realize it's not going to be quite as mindless in the first 5 minutes. Let me put it that way. It is a working or an active meditation. Once you do start to do that breathing, you're increasing your oxygen levels so that you're going to feel some tingles in your body. You might feel some tingling in your hands, some sensations in your hands. So when I first started doing it on my own at home, I just got some tingles around my mouth. And then in my hand. And then when I went to the actual certification class, it was a week. Doing it with a group is very powerful energy. You're using the energy of the group as well. And I got tingles throughout my whole entire body, kind of almost like a Kundalini sort of thing, if you know what that is. So you can get a lot of tingles. And David Elliott would say that that is really your energy moving, which is great. You can feel your own kind of chi, your own internal energy. And once you feel that, there's no going back. I mean, you are just connected in a way to your body that you've not been connected before. Emotions might come up, good ones, some tears, perhaps, some memory pops might come up of things that, you've gone through. All sorts of different things can happen to you while you get into kind of an altered state of consciousness, which is very, very relaxing and very blissful. If you just breathe for maybe 10 minutes, and then you can go breathe in the double breath and then exhale breathing for 10 minutes. You can then go into normal nose breathing and be in a very deeply, you really are in that theta delta state, deep relaxation that you will not really want to come out of. It takes me a little bit to come out of it on my own. But it is a beautiful thing. It gets the energy moving. And I can personally attest to the fact that it has removed blocked energy for me, or else I would not seriously be even able to do this webinar with you here today. That's how powerful it is. So I do run the virtual sessions now and in-person sessions for those if you want to experience that for yourself, either one-on-one with me or in the group virtually. I want to start doing live sessions if you've got any interest in that, in doing live in-person group sessions. I would love to have you. I can't wait to start doing that. Okay, so the breath work, very cool. So you can look at stuff, the emails that I will send you about the breath work that I'll do at least once a month virtually. And the cost for that is just $15. And that is going to opioid prevention. And we all know, now you know why it's going to opioid David Elliott, search David Elliott, 2 L's, 2 T's on Spotify, and he has free breath work meditations. He will walk you through it. He will talk to you about it with some of his introductions on the recordings he's got up there. And he's got different ones from, you can just start with 7 minutes and see how that feels. You can then work up to 14, 21, 28 minutes. He's got one, which is a cleansing one. I mean, he's been very generous with what he's put out there for free. So you can also access that yourself, which is very, very cool. All right, so just to wrap up here, and then I'm going to stop sharing the screens and take your questions if anybody has any after this. Just wanted to reiterate, if you want to do, talk about coaching, what might work for you, you can schedule that, discover your brilliant session. I'm still doing career coaching, $150 a session. Brilliant Energy is the human design, which I had talked about. If you don't know what that is, just send me an email. We can have a call and chat about it. My human design is all about learning things, trying things, and sharing it with people and communicating with people. And it is all about spirit and the body. So you can see that I am now completely aligned with what my human design says. Oops, let me get back here. Then my brilliant body is what I call the breath work. And as I said, if you're interested in that, please let me know. All really cool stuff today, all to get you out of your mind, into your body, stop the brain chatter, stop the emotional pain, and give you some relief, because we are living in this stressful world. Finally, I do have a retreat that we are trying to organize. We got a couple people interested. We can only take about 4, maybe 6 max. It is going to be in Ocean City, New Jersey, a beautiful house that is beachfront, beautiful ocean view. You can just walk right out to the beach, and we will be doing breath work. So you'll be doing that with a group, which is very powerful, as I said. A little bit of group coaching, and we'll also go into your human design in detail and talk about, how to implement that in your life. Now I'm going to stop the share so that I can come back to you guys and put my video on. Let's see here. Come on. And see if you guys have any questions. I think you can unmute yourself. You don't need to ask me to unmute yourself. Let me put my video on so I can see you all. Hey. So Heather, Corrine, Bernadette, if you got any questions, please just pop in and let me know. If you've tried any of these techniques, if you've got any special issues you want to talk about. Anyone? Bernadette, you're unmuted. I haven't seen you in a long time.
How are you doing, Joanne?
Good, much better than I was a year and a half ago.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I do recommend you to other people because I think you're terrific at what you do.
Thank
you.
you.
Not only as a career coach, but just as an interpersonal communicator.
Oh, thank you, Bernadette. Yes,
you're welcome.
You've known me forever now.
For at least 20 plus years.
I know. I mean, really, like from the beginning, I think, from my earliest days. So I really appreciate it.
Not a problem at all. You were a good connection for me.
Good to know. Good to know. Have you tried any of these techniques before?
Some of them, and some of them I have done things like that have made my life and acceptance and moving in a positive direction much better than it would have been under a lot of stress. So I've learned to decompress myself away from that and focus on what's the positive and what's the solution. Why am I reacting that way? And it's allowed me to let go of things, which is helpful.
Out there. Good. Yeah, there's a lot going on today. We really need all of these things. And, I personally have not had good luck with therapy at all. I mean, and I think it's just too, it's too in your head. It's too, I mean, logically, you can see what you're doing, you can see that things are upsetting you, but it's not affecting that kind of automatic reaction that you can have to some things that are stressors. I mean, with my youngest son, when he was going through his, a lot of his emotional issues in high school, and then moving on to college, I would get a text from him and his name would come up, and that would be all it would take is seeing his name in the text, to just knock me out. So, and I don't think therapy was not helping me with that kind of physical reaction to those kinds of things, whereas some of these techniques actually do. And I would say especially the breath work is, once you feel that, have you done that, Bernadette, this type of breath work where you?
No, I'm not a very good meditator.
This is who that's for, because it cuts out your logical brain and it puts you into your right brain. It is for those who cannot meditate.
Yes.
All you have to do is breathe.
Yeah, for a scientist that want to, think about everything rather than be able to focus. So I would think that would be something I would at least try to do.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that as you gain your wisdom, you also gain the ability to walk away from some of those old reactions, that anxiety and that fear, because you've been there before, you know how it works, and you can move away from it very quickly. But when you're engaged in it and you don't recognize it, it can become quite a hindrance.
Yeah, and I will say that some things we cannot think ourselves out of, though.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of the, catching the saboteur in the moment, and all of the, this kind of mental aspects are in some ways not as powerful, or need to be used in addition with some of these body techniques like the tapping, like the breath work, in order to clear it from our actual physical.
Oh.
So,
excuse me. To your point about therapy not working, I think part of it is that you're not working in the moment. You're not dealing with you're not addressing it in the moment. You're just talking about it.
Right.
And when you just talk about something, you can talk it to death, but it still doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
And being able to be in the moment and, have your kind of affirmation take you to the right place is critical.
Yeah.
I've seen people go through therapy for years and they still are in the same place, basically.
Yeah, very good point. So yeah, some of these, you can either use in the moment, or, before the moment or after the moment, to help you process, what was going on. They're really cool. And, the binaural beats one, I had given years ago. One of our neighbors, unfortunately, their 12-year-old son was diagnosed. That, I mean, you literally, you just want relief from that thought. You want to, where can I go to just not think about this? And I gave him a copy of the deep, the binaural beat, so you could just plug into that and go somewhere else for a little bit and get some much needed relief. Yeah, because a lot of the emotional pain we go through, we've not been taught ever how to deal with this. There's no courses in school. There's people talk therapy, but there isn't a whole lot for that deep emotional pain you might be in that that you need some help with. So, any other questions about this, or things that I can? I would ask you to, if you don't want to come to the beach retreat, if you've got somebody who could use, who would like to really kind of work on themselves and, make some progress and move out of maybe an unstuck place, please let them know about it. That would be really.
Hi, Joanne. This is Heather.
Hi.
I want to first just apologize for being late. I popped in at about the 10-minute mark. And so sorry. Will this recording be shared so I can make up, listen to the part I missed?
Yeah, I don't think you missed a whole lot, maybe. Did you hear about the binaural beats or not?
I came in at the very end of that.
Okay, so yeah, so you should be good. That was the first tool, I believe, the binaural beats. So
Okay, but you'll, will the slides, or you had good resources on some of the slides and things too. So I'd love to go back to them if you're willing to share some of that.
yeah, that should be coming out as long as I'm going to get the recording and put it in your email that you're going to get. So you'll be able to have bunches of links in that follow-up email. It's a little out of control, with the links, but
that's okay. I'm a little out of
it.
control with the research, so it works.
Okay.
I do also just want to comment quickly at the therapy thing. Definitely doesn't work for everybody. And I was always, I had never been before, and I always would poo-poo it. And I'm just a very, like, I don't need, why would I need that? And talking to someone, how's that going to help me? The past several years for me have been really difficult for a number of reasons. And I found myself in a place I've never been before. And I did try talking to somebody who I'm still talking to now. It's only been, I guess, 6 months or so. And I expected it to go nowhere. And somehow it did help me. So I don't know if it's part of it's finding the right person. This is not the first person I spoke to. So, and part of it for me, I guess, is maybe just point in my life and timing. And I have no idea. And it definitely made a difference. And I even talked to her about it recently. And I was like, I wish I could say, the analytic in me very much wants to unpack what worked. Like, I need to understand what about
which part,
this.
which session, which
right. Like, what did you do? Like you haven't given me the pill that fixes me yet, which is what I want you to do. So I don't know why you're holding out on me on that. But and the best I could think of was, from my perspective, was it was someone completely neutral that I could just unload on, and just talk. And it was a purely safe, non-judgmental space. Not that my family and friends aren't safe and non-judgmental, but they're family and friends. So you'll always, edit something. And so it was that I had permission kind of to feel the way I felt. And so I think the first thing for me was working on, it's okay. Like, forgive yourself for feeling the way you feel, kind of, before you can do anything about it. And then it was interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine about not understanding what was helping, and that was then driving me crazy. And her take on it was really interesting. She said, I'm not a psychologist or anything. She said, but the way that you've talked about the past few years and then just the past few months is like you took control over something, simply your decision to go to therapy. So for you, it's a decision to try these other things and whatever that is. She said for, everything else at least felt like it was happening to you and you had no control over much of the things that happened the past several years. And as a control freak, that is very difficult. Even not as a control freak, that is very difficult. And so she said, if the only thing you could control at the time was calling that therapist and starting those conversations, maybe that gave you a little bit of the push you needed. And I don't know. I still don't know what it was, but it was just interesting. So I'd say I also was not a believer for a long time, and I don't know how long I'll do this, and I don't know how long it'll help me, but I think place and time,
Yeah. And yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah. I think I've, phases of life and you change. I feel like I'm a very different person now than I was even just a few years ago. And so things like, lighting candles and in a dark room and doing yoga by myself, or, things I would never, and not only never have done, but very actively was against before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Actively against, that's a whole other level of.
Oh yeah. No, I've done like a complete 180 on some of these things.
All right, well, it's been great to meet with all of you, and hopefully the recording did its thing. I know it said it was doing it, so hopefully, the link will work, and I'll put that in the email to follow up with you guys. So it was a pleasure seeing you all today, and we're gonna log off. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks,
You do the
Jen.
same. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Take care now.
You too.